Hi, I'm Jesse RHINES, and welcome again to Loft Interviews. I am here, not in my loft this time, but today I've come to the office of Priya Hanson. And Priya is a psychologist who works in an area that's of great interest to me. She is dealing with Parkinson's disease and patients who have that disease. And as it happens, my brother has Parkinson's disease, so this is a subject that has special interest to me. So let me say welcome now to Priya. How are you?
Thank you. Well,
yeah,
thank
that's
you, Jesse.
Good. Well, I'm very glad that you've allowed me to do this interview with you today because I really do have lots of questions. All right, so Priya, you're here in Southern California, but I noticed that, first of all, you have kind of a British accent. Is that true?
I do. Grew up in London, but my mother is fifth generation Californian.
Really?
Angelino. So,
Oh.
yeah.
And is your dad from England?
Nope, from India.
From India?
Yeah.
Ah,
Yeah.
okay. Hence the name Priya.
Yeah, hence the name Priya.
Right, all right. Does that have a special meaning or anything?
Yes, it means most beloved in Sanskrit.
Oh, man, that's very nice. That's wonderful. Wonderful. So now, Priya, you have come to California. You went to USC, is that right?
Went to USC and got my master's in marriage and family therapy and my undergraduate degree there too.
Oh, okay. What was your undergrad in?
Theatre.
In theater?
Yes.
Oh, wow. But you're living downtown now, is that right?
Correct. Yes.
And can you tell me what that experience is like? How long has it been? It's actually not far from USC.
Yeah, both the main campus and the health sciences campus. So it only takes me, it's 5 miles drive to the health sciences campus.
Okay.
Yeah, no, I love living downtown. I really
yeah?
do.
Tell me what you like about it.
Oh, it's central. It's central for the whole of Los Angeles. You can get anywhere. I like living in a big city. I grew up in London. You know, it's really coming up. There's more restaurants here, and there's more things to do. And for me, it's convenient.
Yeah. Tell me what you're doing now in the Parkinson's business.
Well, it's twofold, really. I'm also a life coach. So I coach with people with chronic illness. So people with Parkinson's, stroke, epilepsy. So I'm a life coach in my private practice. But with the deep brain stimulation work that I'm doing with Parkinson's, I used to do therapy with Parkinson's patients, but now deep brain stimulation implant surgery is a new technology, relatively new. It's been around since 1991. It was developed in France. Mm-hmm. And basically it is a brain surgery for people with Parkinson's. That's used sort of, not as a last resort at all, but at a point when the medication is no longer working. So they put electrodes into the brain, stimulate the part of the brain that creates dopamine. And so you get the dopamine starting to work through the brain that's absent in Parkinson's patients. Dopamine actually helps you move.
Helps you move?
Yeah, so that's why Parkinson's patients, sometimes they freeze. And because there's just a lack of dopamine. It sort of makes the electrical currents work in the brain.
My brother was an opera singer, and he was, I think he was in Germany singing, and he fell at one point on the railroad tracks, and my mother always thought that that's what really caused the difficulty he had later. Is there anything that triggers Parkinson's?
Well, there are different things, but it's not concrete. There's no concrete evidence, but the falling would be because of his gait or balance issues that come with having difficulties moving. So it's not unheard of in the beginning stages of Parkinson's. Really, I work with Parkinson's patients and their mental health, and during the surgery with anxiety. So now Parkinson's. So and then I was allowed to observe in one of the surgeries at USC, the deep brain stimulation surgery, and the patient's awake, and I could see some of the anxiety that the patients was having, especially when they were putting on the halo and shaving the head. And so the couple of us in my department, we all realized that there was a need to work with these patients during surgery and the families, because I do a lot of caregiver work.
It seems to me that being awake I've had a lot of operations, and being awake for one of them is not something that I would want.
No, and most surgeries you're not awake for it, but there's very little feeling in the brain, the scalp, just gets opened, and then there's, a hole gets made so the electrodes can go in. There's very little feeling there, so they're not in pain, but they have to be awake so the surgeon knows that he's got the electrode in the right place of the brain and it's doing what it's supposed to do.
So are you ever in operations with persons you don't know?
I have been, only as an observer. Theoretically, what would be really great, and this is what I'm working on, is actually doing some research around this and working with the patient and the family beforehand. And I met with patients last week, told them exactly what happens during surgery so they're not surprised. So it's a little less anxiety making for them. And then I also work on guided imagery and progressive relaxation.
What is guided imagery?
If I find out where they're comfortable, where they're most happy, if it's by a river or by the ocean, and so that would be that. So I'd say, find out where their safe place is.
So when you talk with them when they're on the operating table, you will tell them if they start feeling anxious, and you will say, think of that river you told me about.
Exactly.
Yeah. Can you try that on me? How would you guide my imagery?
Well, no, I do a lot of work beforehand, and I would say to you, so where are you most comfortable? And
downtown LA.
Why are you most comfortable downtown?
The subway.
Okay, well, what is it about the subway that you like?
It's not very expensive, and it makes me think of being in the city. It makes me think of tall buildings. It makes me think of streets that are shadowed in the daytime. It makes me think of probably a decent nightlife, stores close by. Those are things that I like. I like.
What does all that mean for you? What does it all mean, having tall buildings and shadowed streets?
There's something that a kind of security.
Okay.
I think that when I think of tall buildings, one thing, I remember this now. I went to UCLA for a while for a master's, and when I was there, I didn't like the campus. I still don't like UCLA's campus. There's nowhere to hide. It's so spread out. All of the buildings are separate. There are no alleyways or anything like that. The buildings are very far apart, so you're always exposed when you're on campus. And I prefer a place that has hiding places, has little alleys. Things like that. And
also where you're a little incognito. You're not,
yes, yeah.
So it doesn't necessarily have to be a place that's warm and cozy. It has to be where it's sort of, you blend in.
Right,
and you're not,
So if I get my brain deeply scanned, you'll be there and you'll say, Jesse, go to the heart of the city. Think maybe of Wall Street. Think of the F train. Or
And then I would also say, I would also slow it down too. What are the sounds that you're hearing? What do you like the sounds of public transport? Is it, the clanking of the trains, and then we get into a rhythm of the train track. You're on the train and it's moving, and so movement and sound and colors, and it can be hypnotic and meditative. So we're trying to get them into a meditative state.
Oh, I think that's fascinating, and I must say that I thought I saw a little theater training coming out when you did that. Because those are the kinds of things that you have to do as an actor. As an actor, you really have to think of them, or you have to imagine yourself in the location sometimes, especially if you're on stage.
That's true. That's true.
So I think perhaps your theater training does come into play here.
Well, thank you. I'm sure my grandmother will be very pleased. Yes. She paid for my education. It's been useful for something.
So it's been worth it. That's right. Okay, well, Priya, I want to thank you for coming in and talking with me today on Loft Interviews, and I hope that we'll be able to talk with you again.
Thank you very much, Jesse.
Thank you.
Thanks for your work in the community. Thank you.
Now, hi, I'm back again. Hi, I'm Jesse RHINES, and I want to say thank you for coming to Loft Interviews. I want to say thank you to Priya again, and I hope to see you next time. Bye.